Jiren the Grey from Universe 11 finally gives us a display of his raw, ferocious power, as he does battle against the shape-shifting Maji Kayo. And Frost leads a deadly assault against Master Roshi and Vegeta. Who will win? Who will lose? Find out in my review of this week's epic episode of Dragon Ball Super. I hope you guys like the Mafuba technique because you're going to see it a lot in this week's episode. Despite the fact that you're going to be seeing the return of this classic technique yet again, this was a solid addition to Dragon Ball Super. In fact, I think this was the episode that we needed and the episode that we deserved. Not only did we get to see some unique things from the series that we've never seen before, like Roshi and Vegeta teaming up against a common enemy, but we finally got to see more of the Pride Troopers in action, in particular, Jiren himself. But before we talk about all of the amazing action scenes in this week's episode, let's talk about some of the other big developments, like the fact that there's only 36 fighters left in the Tournament of Power, and we get to go through each of the individual teams at the beginning of this week's episode, and we get to learn where everyone is standing. And there's still going to be some pretty big surprises for the Tournament of Power, like the fact that there are 2 fighters from Universe 4 whom we have never actually seen. However, eagle-eyed viewers who've been watching Dragon Ball Super the entire time, and those who've actually been paying attention to the intro, will actually get a very good glimpse of who these fighters are and what they look like. Apparently, they are these 2 weird bug-like creatures, which look like an even freakier version of Gregory the Cricket who hangs out with King Kai. And I'm guessing that they're either A, so small that you can't see them, or B, they have the ability to actually make themselves turn invisible, which is going to make them surprisingly devastating opponents, and I can't wait to see them in action considering how much they've been building them up this entire freaking tournament. The rest of the episode, however, is just pure raw action, and I'm okay with that. The first scene actually involves the Pride Troopers, which now consists of Toppo, Dispo, and Jiren, and they're going up against the blue jelly shape-shifting creature, Maji Kayo, who is going to look very familiar to a lot of Dragon Ball fans, as he's essentially a combination of Majin Buu and Baby from Dragon Ball GT. And despite the fact that he does manage to actually catch Dispo off guard and wrap him up in all of his weird blue amorphous goo, Jiren manages to take him out with one solid punch. Basically, he takes a page from the book of Saitama and punches him so hard that it creates a massive whirlwind, which just sends him flying over the edge of the ring. I wanted to see a little bit more from Maji Kayo, the fact that he can actually change his form from a creepy little kid to a giant muscular form. I was hoping we get to see more transformations from him, and for him to be able to actually catch Dispo off guard shows that he was really strong, but clearly he's no match for the buffest gray alien in the universe, Jiren. The rest of the episode is a fantastic sequence where Frost actually teams up with Magetta as they battle against Roshi and Vegeta, with Roshi taking most of the damage in this battle. The reason that this is also intense is because Roshi himself has just become tremendously powerful. There's a great scene where it looks like Frost is pushing him back and he's about to destroy him as he's being pounded into the freaking pavement, and then Roshi just pumps up his body and starts fighting back, hitting him with all of these punches left and right, and it's satisfying as hell. I absolutely love this moment, and Roshi even goes as far as to try to use the Mafuba technique against Frost, and I honestly thought that he was going to capture him during this moment, but it ends up not working, and Frost actually ends up learning about the Mafuba technique and tries to use it against Roshi later in the episode. There's a really great sequence where Frost teams up with Magetta and they end up fighting against Vegeta, and this scene right here has some really fast and super awesome choreography behind it, and I still love watching Magetta be able to just tank every single attack that Vegeta throws at him, no matter how devastatingly powerful it is. If it hits him point blank, if he just blocks it with his giant robot hands, it all looks really cool and super stylistic. I especially love the shot where you have the beams which are hitting his hands and just exploding in various directions all around him. It's just really flashy and awesome, and the type of stuff that I really love from the action sequences in Dragon Ball Super. And Roshi in his desperation, does try to use the Mofuba technique again, when Frost actually manages to take the attack, reverse it, and throw it right back at Vegeta, and even manages to trap him in one of those small containers. And it was at this point of the episode that I'm like, holy shit, are they actually going to get rid of Vegeta this early in the tournament? I mean, all Frost had to do was pick that thing up and throw it outside of the ring. And instead, he does what every classic villain does, which is monologue, which gives Roshi the perfect opportunity to use the last bit of his power, and he creates this very small ki blast, which flies right past Frost, but then swings back around, breaks open the container, which unleashes Vegeta, who just goes Super Saiyan Blue immediately, and just destroys Magetta. And by destroy him, I mean he destroys him verbally, because he destroys the weird magma that's stuck in his robot ears, and he just basically kicks him right out of the ring, just like that. But Frost does a little ninja vanish move and decides to escape, so we're going to see more from Frieza's bastard doppelganger at some point in the future. While all of this is well and good and super exciting, it is kind of saddening to see that Master Roshi is actually going to have to bow out of the tournament. He's used way too much of his power, he's exerted way too much of his own strength, and as soon as he actually falls out of the ring, he's immediately given a senzu bean just so that he will not die. This is a really great scene for a number of reasons. One, I do like the fact that Roshi is not going to actually push himself and actually die. There really wasn't going to be a lot of drama around the fact that Roshi would die anyway, considering we saw him at the very end of Dragon Ball Z, which technically takes place at the end of all of this, which in many ways is kind of a big spoiler anyway. It sort of just lets you know that, yeah, Universe 7 is going to be just fine, but that's beside the point. What I also really love about this scene is that as the episode is going on, and really ever since that one episode where Roshi finally started to show how incredibly useful and strategic he was in battle, Beerus really respects Roshi at this point. He's even the one who's saying, get a senzu bean ready, as soon as that guy's back, we cannot have him die. And seeing Beerus actually respect this old martial arts master and be humbled by him a little bit is honestly one of the coolest Beerus moments from the entire series. You can see that as this tournament is going on, he's actually starting to sort of respect a lot of all of the warriors, especially the ones from Earth. Also, what's the deal with every single fighter that's lost so far from Universe 7 being bald? That's bullcrap. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super? This one was just action-packed and fun, exactly what I wanted from an episode of Dragon Ball Super. One of my favorite things about it was just the speed and the impact. That's something that I bring up a lot when I talk about action anime, but it's something that was really perfected by Dragon Ball, and in particular Dragon Ball Z, back in the 90s. The way that they make the characters move, and every single time someone gets punched or kicked, you almost have a feeling that you're getting punched. You can feel every single impact, and they managed to do a lot of that in this episode. Every single time a character got hit by something, it really looked like it hurt a lot. And a lot of that had to do with really smooth animation, and every single time these characters just fly into pillars and everything explodes. It all just looks really cool. Jiren's punch at the beginning of the episode was definitely a highlight, but I really loved the sequence where you had Frost and Magetta teaming up against Vegeta, the overall speed of it, the fact that you have these two smaller beings and this one giant robot who's also mixed in with the fight just made it really awesome. And I love Magetta just for how unique he is and how funny he is with the weird noises that he does, and I was kind of disappointed to actually see him get defeated, although he was definitely on the lower end of the spectrum for Universe 6. That being said, I was almost fully convinced that Frieza was going to make some sort of appearance in this episode. Since Frost was involved, I was just sort of waiting for that to happen the entire time, but it looks like I am going to be getting my wish in the next episode, as apparently Frost and Frieza are going to be teaming up against Gohan. And this brings up an interesting thing, are the Zenos and the Grand Priest just going to allow the fighters from their very own universe to fight against their very own team members? Are they just going to let it fly because it looks cool? I mean, are they not going to be too strict about that at all? Maybe this really is just the ultimate free-for-all and nobody even really realizes it yet. All I know is it's going to lead to some pretty damn cool scenes, and I can't wait to see how Gohan is going to get out of this situation, and he might end up taking both Frost and Frieza out of the equation altogether, which would be kind of disappointing because, again, yes, I have been waiting for Frost and Frieza to do something really crazy to just throw this arc out of whack, and to see them just get benched, I think would be really funny because, one, just imagine Frieza hanging out with freaking Krillin and Tien and Master Roshi and having to listen to all of their bullshit and be completely annoyed by that stuff all of the time. Or maybe as soon as he loses, they're just gonna send his ass right back to hell. I don't know. I just really want to see what's going to happen with these characters and what their ultimate plan is going to be. I'd like to hope they have some big plans for Frieza, considering the buildup of him actually being involved in this tournament was so astronomical, and I want to see more from Golden Frieza, so I'm hoping we'll get to see that in the next episode, and it'd also be a great vehicle for allowing Gohan to basically surpass himself yet again, going up against Frieza and Frost. This episode, though, right here was definitely fantastic because we also got to see Vegeta and Roshi teaming up with one another, which is something that we don't really ever see too much in the series, and it's a dynamic that I never expected that would be really awesome, but it was great, especially because by the end of it, Vegeta wasn't saying it out loud, but you could tell that he gained a lot of respect for Master Roshi just by actually fighting with him in this episode right here. That and the fact that it was also just extreme poetic justice that Vegeta was battling against Frost and Magetta, the two characters he fought against in the tournament between Universe 7 and 6. One of those opponents he defeated before, and he did it again, and this time it looks like Frost is going to be a little more careful in how he actually battles. It looks like he's always going to have some sort of trick up his sleeve, whether that be teaming up with some of his other opponents, or maybe even just waiting for Frieza to appear. All I know is this episode was awesome. It was just pure action from beginning to end, and that's definitely a reason to sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's explosive and cool episode. I loved this one right here. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5, and you should definitely check it out if you were following this series. If any of you guys did watch this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Did you like this episode? Did you not like this episode? What did you think of finally getting to see Jiren fight against Maji Kayo? And what did you think about Frost and Magetta's battle against Vegeta and Master Roshi? Who are those two invisible fighters, and what are they going to do? And what do you hope to see from the rest of the Tournament of Power arc? Tell me all your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things Dragon Ball Super related, and make sure to share this video with all of your friends. Tell them to give it a thumbs up too. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay dandy, baby.